Equality of Opportunities, a cycle of talks to think about social responsibility. By Mariana Massaccesi, Executive Coordinator of Vital Argentine Voices, by the Ministry of Social Development of the nation. The speaker is Maria Christina Liscano, Cooperative President of CEIBO RSU. She's an environmental trainer and promoter, which serves as an inspiration for many other organizations. She works to defend the rights and needs of workers and emphasizes that respect for others is of utmost importance. By SOCIENCE, the news agency for the Americas. I appreciate all of you who work here for the invitation, for the kindness, and for how you have treated us as human beings, and honestly as equal to others. I say this to all of the women and the men. Now I'm going to speak, not telling stories, but telling my own story, the story of Christina Liscano. There are two different stories of Christina Liscano. I'm going to start with the first story, the Christina Liscano of today. I am the president of the Cooperative CEIBO. It is a cooperative of cartoneros. Well, we once considered ourselves a cooperative of cartoneros, but today we are social entrepreneurs. A cooperative is a social company, and while many are ashamed to say that, today we are a business and we run like a business. Today we work with machines, we follow laws. Today I laughed to myself when I heard some of the women speaking here, because I have lived the experiences with all of this, with the theme of men, and I thought to myself, we're doing things right if we've had these experiences. We're women, and we started as women, but we're not dumb, because there are jobs which, while we say all are equal, we understand that men's physical strength is something that a woman may not have. For example, if we are tasked with changing a truck's tire, that is something that may require a man's strength. Waste collection, the separation of waste at its source, was the work of companies and the work of men. Yet here I am. I'm the president. Those poor boys who are working here and many others who have to put up with me, but we work as equals and with much respect for one another. Of course, we had to work hard on this matter. There were many changes because this work is seen as a man's work, and we women started doing it. I realize when people go to the Green Center, the recycling center, we have a wonderful center with machines and trucks and lots of things. That when people are coming to buy something, say businessmen or anyone, they always look for a man to talk to. And they're annoyed when my coworkers tell them, no, you have to talk to Christina. She's the boss. Because they call me boss, and it feels good, because my colleagues respect me. And it seems that people who come here are annoyed by that. But the good thing is that I realized that they were looking for a man. And we ourselves have broken all of these myths. We tell them that women are responsible for all kinds of things. I always repeat this on the topic of men. We do not say that women are equal to men because there are things a woman cannot do. We're not dumb. We know. Because I can come out and say, we're all equals. No, that's a lie. We cannot change a truck's tire. We're not interested in it. Today, we're talking about the topic of being a housewife. The majority of us, I, for example, am not a housewife. I don't know how to iron. I don't know how to do anything, and I don't want to. No. On Sundays, for example, my son asks me, are you going to make something to eat today? No, today's Sunday, I tell him. So look, everyone who comes to my house today has to do everything for themselves. Honestly, I do not feel like a housewife in spite of the fact that I experienced a lot of things that you'll hear about soon. The cooperative today is a social enterprise. My co-workers and I, at one time, we had nothing. Today we have public health care and social welfare systems. We have the regime for small taxpayers. We have the opportunity to come to these places that at times, this is the other part, we exclude ourselves from. And my coworkers and I, for example, go to these meetings with the city government where we have to deal with complicated issues, and I take them to these meetings because they have to learn that we didn't always have this opportunity. And listen, it's because we marginalize ourselves. That sometimes happens, that we marginalize ourselves. We in the recycling center, we have men, women, we have kids that have been prisoners and drug addicts. Regarding the theme of gender, we have male and female coworkers. But we're all equal. Well, we deal with a lot, and what I have to thank these kids who work with me for, and there are many others also, that they don't forget their origin and where they came from. And many have come from the shanty towns. And today is the day that they're with CEIBO, and people help these youth so that they do not have to be barefoot, so they can go to school. We ask for food donations for community kitchens. So this is the feeling that they have inside, and I always tell them not to forget where you came from and your origin, even when they're here with a lot of... Okay, now I'm going to talk about the other Christina Liscano. I would say that this is from the other Christina Lescano that the current Christina Lescano came from, but I do not know if that is a bad thing or a good thing. At that time it was bad because we were in a bad place during the year 1989, during the hyperinflation. We all know about the crisis of 2001, but we came out of the other crisis, which was much stronger than that one. We were all living in rented rooms, we stayed in hotels, and in places that we had taken over, had squatted in. This is what happened in our lives. In life, I've always said that where there's a will, there's a way. If you dream it, you can achieve it. And we lived in hotels and rented houses. That crisis, it grabbed us and it destroyed us. We started to get to know each other, and we were living in abandoned buildings as squatters. It's horrible to live in an abandoned building. I wouldn't wish it upon anyone, but that's what we had. Well, it was here in those places that we started to get to know each other because we did as cirujeos, as garbage scavengers. Now, when I talk about cirujeo, or scavenging, I speak about it as a social enterprise, but you need to recognize the difference. At that time, we were cirujas, going through bags of trash that people had put on the sidewalk and eating the garbage. And we had no shame in saying that because it demonstrates that this can happen to anyone, even if they're way up there financially. We're up there now, but we don't want to come down. And they say it's easy to go back down, but we all fight together to avoid it because we've been there. I was personally a victim of domestic violence. I was beaten, I left and came back. I have 3 children. I had to send 2 of my children south to live with my mother. My youngest stayed to pick trash with me, and all 3 studied, 2 of them with my mother and father, and Matthias, well, I won't say his name because I always embarrass him. He went out to scavenge with me. And children, they do it with a good attitude, but realize that when a child from the streets starts to see people with money, and they're stuck on the street scavenging, that's not a good thing. Because doing that, having to pick garbage, is not a nice thing to do. Money. So anyhow, I've been all over the world, just as you see right now. I've been invited to go all around the world because no one can believe that we went from going through garbage bags, from living on the streets, to have what we have today. What we want to tell everyone is that if you can dream it, you can achieve it. We shouldn't see ourselves as victims and think, oh, poor thing. No, we don't want. Our neighbors in Palermo discriminated against us until we realized that we were also discriminating against ourselves. So what do? We put on the uniform of CEIBO and we started going out into the streets, and now we work in Puerto Madero and in really nice places, and people treat us like people, like human beings, and they don't discriminate against us. Sometimes I think that it was just us discriminating against ourselves in the past as well, and nowadays, thanks to my coworkers, I'm going to retire at some point, and they're going to continue with the rest of the story. And I always tell them that they have to go further, and we don't have to feel ashamed of ourselves because we came together at one point in time to generate resources. And what are those resources? To have a better life, to not live in an abandoned house, not to live in a shanty town. Today, we have people who are able to afford rent, and they keep working with us still because they want to keep moving forward. And for those who don't want to keep moving forward, they leave. They go away on their own. We have clear objectives of what we want. If we've been able to achieve what we have now, then today we are fighting for a piece of legislation in order to get the city's government to pay us for the services we do. And I believe that we will win. And another thing that I will tell of you, I have traveled the world. Don't leave Argentina. Do you know how beautiful it is to step foot here in the Argentine airport? It is the most beautiful. What we have in our country is the most beautiful. And today someone said, let's quit this nonsense. Let's stop fighting among ourselves about politics. Let's fight for our country, just like we have been fighting for it. Because I do not know what is happening with all of Argentina's people, but if we look at politics, we look at what the other has, we're all equals. Look, we're cartoneros. When we're seen in the streets, no one could imagine the life we had. No one can imagine it, but it happened to us. We had nothing. We ate out of the garbage. So let's try to move this country forward. Thank you.